Go time. All right, everybody. Welcome to an impromptu live that we will turn into a podcast, most likely. I am here today with my buddy Burton from Propstream. Burton is the man. He kicks serious ass. And I've had him on 4, 5, 6 times already in the past to walk us through and show us some of these really cool features that Propstream has to offer. So, guys, if you are looking to learn how to use Propstream, we've already done some demos on the channel here that break down pulling comps or I should say, pulling comps, finding motivated seller leads and pulling those lists using the mobile app. Today, we're going to really be focusing on some of the motivated seller leads and the lists. And Burton has graciously offered to come on and give us a quick little demo. And I promised Burton that we wouldn't take tons of his time. We're going to keep this, 20 to 30 minutes, give or take. But Burton, welcome back. Thank you so much for your time. And as always, it is such a good opportunity to get to say hi and see you, brother. How you been?
Likewise, man. I've been great. I'm even better now that I'm here. The energy just transfers from you, and it's great, man. But thank you for having me. I'm here to definitely teach about pulling leads, especially what's around the corner. We heard about C and the Supreme Court and the
So I
administration.
don't even know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? What is
So
this?
the administration and the CDC, obviously, they had their eviction extension that was shot
Got it.
down
Yep.
actually by the Supreme Court. So what that means is that we should start bracing ourselves for these lists to start coming in, and we're talking pre-foreclosures and so forth. So this timing is perfect, my brother. I appreciate it.
I am excited. Right. I
Right.
love it. So very cool. Very cool. So let's jump in, guys. Free trial with Propstream. They offer a 7-day free trial. There should be a link in the description as well for you guys to check it out. I have been a customer probably going on 2 years, maybe even as many as 3. I use Propstream almost exclusively to pull my lists and leads. I don't even use the MLS, even though I have access here out of St. Louis, Missouri, where I live and do my investing. I actually logged into the MLS yesterday for like 15 minutes because I needed to look at a flood map. And then my team was like, you can go to FEMA and do that. And I'm like, I don't even need the MLS. Propstream helps me with all of this stuff, guys. So highly recommend you use Propstream. In fact, when we have a new student that comes in, Burton, it is the only software that we require.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's
So if they have MLS access already, then that would, allow them to bypass that, of course. But still, for pulling the lists, it's like if you don't have MLS access, you need it, right? And then on top of that, if you already have this software, you can go pull those lists, right? Last I checked, ListSource, what do they charge for a lead over there? Like 7 or 8 cents a piece?
somewhere around there.
It might
I
even
would
be
say I've
like
seen
10
people
cents.
promote 3 cents. It's
Yeah,
still
so
within that range,
so
like
3
let's say 3 to
cents
8 or
is
something.
if so I actually use one of my buddies that owns Yellow Letters HQ. You probably know him as well. He hooked me up with like a coupon code or a link or something to get me 3-cent leads. And honestly, I don't even use those because Propstream is 1 cent, right? So with
Probably less
Propstream,
than
you
that.
get
It's like
it's
half a penny, I think.
it's like, yeah, exactly. You get like 10,000 exports basically a month with your standard package over there. And it's like $97 a month. So call it a
Correct.
penny, a lead, guys, essentially. So motivated seller leads and lists at basically a penny a piece. And then the ability to pull those comps in real time. One of my favorite things about it, and we did a video previously, kind of demoing and tutorialing. I can't say that word. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I won't judge.
The mobile app, but the mobile app is phenomenal, right? You can pull leads or you can pull comps and look at data on a specific property while you're driving down the road, or maybe you're sitting in front of a house and you don't have your laptop with you. I can pull it up and I can figure out when they bought the property, how much they paid for it, what kind of financing they used, what the estimated balance of their current mortgage is. You name it, the data is there. What they pay in taxes, it is awesome. The app also has some driving for dollars features, but we're not going to talk about all these extra cool things today. I really just wanted to have Burton help me focus in on the motivated seller lists, and just kind of talk about how Propstream can help you if you are not already using it. So I'm going to stop talking and yapping because I'm good at it, and I'm going to let Burton take the wheel. Let's do it,
Thank
buddy.
you
You ready?
so very much. Yeah, let's dive into it. So the first thing
Awesome.
I'd like to show you guys is this outline. And after doing this for nearly a decade now, I'm talking to successful investors like David and others across the board. And remember, PropStream's not just for investors, bankers, lenders, agents. Come check us out. So what I discovered is that there's this traditional method of pulling leads. And this is something that we've all been doing since day one and even before technology. And that's this top portion here. And this is how it goes. You go grab a list and then you make sure it's off market. That way you don't have to deal with the realtor. Now, again, if you want to deal with the realtor, make sure it's on market. But I have a hunch 9 out of 10 of us here are wanting off market properties. Third, the equity amount. Now, depending on the strategy will obviously dictate what level of equity you need. If you're wholesaling or fixing and flipping, you're going to probably want high equity. If you do short sales, you can do low negative equity perhaps. If you do sub twos, low equity, etc. So equity is typically the third rule. And then the final rule when you're performing this traditional method is apply your personal preferences, which are the property and owner characteristics.
Yeah,
So
and I'll be honest with you, Burton, I don't ever pull a list ever, ever that I don't select off market minimum, right? And second, I usually will put in 30% equity at a minimum. Now, there's certain scenarios where the equity I may or may not do, but off market, no matter what, every single time, 100%.
absolutely. And that's what we discovered. And that's what we call the traditional method. And so when you're utilizing PropStream, you're going to be able to do that. But before I get into PropStream, actually, let me show you really quick.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in PropStream, and do you want to give me a city or state by chance, or county?
Let's
I'm
use my
sorry. Or,
city, St. Louis,
yeah,
Missouri, baby.
St. Louis,
Let's do
Missouri.
it.
Okay, so let's do St. Louis. So we're in St. Louis. 300,000 records that you can go through. Now, again, we've categorized them for you. So we do recommend that you go into our filter.
Mm-hmm.
And from there are 19 categories that you can choose from. And if you go to propstream.com, there's a resource tab at the top, and you can know what these definitions are, what each category represents. But the idea here is that these 19 categories, some of them are going to be very obvious motivator indicators, like a person in a pre-foreclosure, for example, or
Okay.
someone who's filed a bankruptcy or a lien.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept is still the same as before. Right? Before technology, investors would go to the county clerk's office, grab records, take it back to the office, and then do their due diligence. We're doing the same thing. So in a sense, you just need to click on a list and then go from there. Now, a lot of people ask, Burton, what's the most popular list? What list should I go after? We're going to leave that up to you. But as you do this over time, you're going to learn that each list have different levels of motivation. So I had to create this graph, and I hope you guys can understand it. And it's what I call the motivation chart.
Ah, look at this.
Right?
I
So
like
if
it.
you take those categories that I just listed, those 19 categories, and put it in a motivation chart, and what we're looking at are 3 sections of the homeowner situation. Remember, you're talking to a person who owns a property, and they're going to be in 3 categories, I like to say. They're either in a good category, meaning leave me alone, I'm not interested in selling the property, or the something has happened, and maybe they'll consider your offer, but not right then and there. And then you have your need help category. These are your severely distressed homeowners. They're probably months, if not weeks away from losing their homes.
Mm.
So if we take those categories and we just put them on this motivation chart, here's how I would paint it out. Your pre-foreclosures and auctions and foreclosures are and the need help category. This is typically the last stop for most homeowners. After this, oh, you're losing your bank to a house or someone who bid the highest bid at the auction.
Mm-hmm.
The motivation here is high, and the reason this is very sought after is because it's big discounts, faster closing, of course,
Yep.
but the obvious, it's very competitive. Now that you know this, wouldn't you want to go after it? So this is why this category, although it's the highest motivation, tends to be the most competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to enlighten you guys on is during this last year and a half, records got delayed. Pre-foreclosures got pushed back. So there is this thing called the uh-oh scenario. Things that can potentially turn into a pre-foreclosure and may have already turned into it, but we just haven't seen the recording yet. Or maybe they're just waiting for that door to open and then they get that recording, right? This is the uh-oh. Your liens, your bankruptcies, etc. So one thing I will say is when you're dealing with uh-oh, as I mentioned earlier, don't expect to sell overnight. This, as David has always mentioned and promoted, it's always in the follow-up, guys.
It's
Most of your
always,
deals, always in the follow-up. 9 out of 10 of your
always in the
deals,
follow-up.
9.5% of your deals out of 10 of your deals are in the follow-up, right? If you get
Absolutely.
that first phone call and the deal, congratulations.
Yeah,
You just found a
congratulations. But that's
unicorn.
not the normal, guys. That's not the normal. The normal is 4 to 6 months and 7 to 20 touches.
Absolutely.
Not
So now that
2, not 1, not 4, 7, 10, 15. We've had deals, Burton, that we've contacted these people 60 times
oh my
over
goodness.
5 years. And that's, by touch or contact, I mean, maybe there was an email, maybe there was a text, maybe there was a phone, but it was on different times, right?
And see, and I love
So,
that you mentioned that, you emphasize that, because a lot of people think, oh, highest distress, let's call them, they're going to want to sell. But you have to imagine so many people have already called them. So the uh-oh is personally a very good avenue to take because this allows you to build an impression, right? Build that relationship. Again, they're not going to say yes on that first, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth call, but over time, they're going to know who you are. They're going to know you're genuine. You're there to help, right? You're providing resources along the way to prevent them from going into that need help category. Now, the reality is, and I'm sure David has experienced it, and he's tried to help someone in this area and they still go into pre foreclosure.
yeah, it happens a
But
lot.
they tend to lean towards David more because he's been there since day one, while all these other investors all of a sudden can
They come
help.
sliding in at the last second, but we've built that rapport. Hopefully, we've made a friend along the way. And, I just had a new student come on yesterday and I was onboarding them and I told them, I said, listen, you can't force sellers to be motivated. But what you can do, guys, is you can let them know that in the event that they get motivated down the road, that you're there to help them. You're there to help them now. You're there to help them then. Right.
That's,
And
that's
it's such a great, yeah, man, it's such a great way to look at it because trying to force somebody to be motivated is like trying to, climb a wall without a rope. Like you're not going to get up it, right? It's an uphill battle. So instead, just keep reminding people. And that's really what follow-up is. It's reminding them that you, A, are still interested, and B, you are there to help them in the event that they need to get rid of that property, right? Love it.
absolutely.
Concur.
So
Hey,
this
really
is
quick though, too,
yeah.
on this uh-oh list, my partner Mike and I have bought over 700 houses in the last 7 years. And 75% of those houses have either been vacant or absentee owned.
There you go, guys. Big indicator there.
Vacant or
The
absentee
uh-oh is
owned.
big.
Right. Now, they may not be vacant when we buy them, or I'm sorry, whenever we go run an appointment, but when we go to close on them, they are. A lot of vacants when we do run those appointments. A lot of absentee owned, which you basically have up here as maybe tired landlords.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, though, guys, if you're looking for that list to start on, Burton said, yeah, there's lots of different ways. I don't disagree. However, from what I've personally seen, bought, deal with on a daily basis, one in four are going to be outside of the vacant and the absentee or the tired landlords list. Doesn't mean that you should not focus on these other lists. But if you are brand new and you're like, hey, what's the first list? Well, here's what I tell my students. Start with the vacants, start with the absentees. They're the low-hanging fruit. You're going to have a lot of people also marketing to those people. But again, what did I just say? You can't force people to be motivated. What you can do is you can make a friend and you can help that person, maybe give them some guidance. And then whenever they do get from the right up here, and then they get to the needs help, it slides over. Who are they going to want to work with? Somebody that they've already had some rapport being built with. So I just want to second that. And you
I
nailed it.
love that. No, I appreciate it. And again, this is things that I've learned from successful investors like you. So I appreciate you guys, being patient with these homeowners. And guys, that's really it. Can't force anybody, but remember, the long run is you're there to really help out, and just wait till you see the smile at the end of the day. But now that okay, get the picture. These records are more motivated, some aren't. Well, you just have to now follow the traditional rules, which is, now that we know the level of motivation, where do you want to be? And you need help, regardless of where you choose, you still, as David mentioned earlier, need to apply the following. Make sure it's off market, has that equity, and then apply your property characteristics. So let's do that. David mentioned vacant. So I'm going to go into our filter here and choose vacant. So we're in that category. But rule number 2 is I got to make sure it's off market.
That's
right.
So
I go to MLS status here, and that's the MLS filters. And where it says on market, yes, no, we're going to hit no for that. There you go.
We want that no.
And then,
because it's not off market, yes. It's on market, no. Yes, you got
Love that. So now after we do that, that's number 2, right? We picked a list, make sure it's
18,000 of them in my city.
The next
18,000. So
I had a guy. Equity.
I had a guy today that was inquiring with me about joining my program, and I said, "Hell yeah, man, we would love to have you." And his thing was, well, he lives in my city. And he's like, well, I'm essentially going to be competing with you. And I'm like, there's no such thing as competition in this market. There's 18,000 houses. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And we're actually driving down the road. And I look at this apartment building that's got like 6 or 8 units. And I said, try to contact every one of those people that live in that unit. You can do that in a day. This is 8 people in one building. You think you can get through? You think you could get all 8 of those people on the phone today? And he's like, probably not. And I'm like, so imagine trying to get 18,000 vacant property owners on the phone. And here's the thing. Next Tuesday, it's a different list than it is today. In 2 weeks out, it's a different list than it is today or Tuesday. It's constantly changing. And he was like, oh, wow, the light bulb went off, and I'm like, there is no such thing as too much competition. And I don't care where you're at.
And at the end of the day, guys, what is it that you guys are competing for to help people, right? I personally, I would even mind if there was thousands of people competing to help other people. Like, that's a win. So you should never worry about the competition. Just worry about staying in your lane. And again, you're there to help other people. You're not there to compete with Dave. You're not there to compete with the other. You're there to help somebody.
You're there to help.
I love your mindset, brother. I love it so much.
Absolutely. So if I was new to the St. Louis market, which I'm not, but some of my students are, boom, this is where we go. We're like, hey, let's pull that list of vacants. We're going to start marketing to that list. We also may do the owner absentee as one of those first 1-2 lists, essentially.
Yes.
Because there is motivation there, guys.
I love that. And actually, that if we would like to include that actually would be your property and owner characteristics. So we got vacant and off market, which is the first 2. Mm-hmm. Let's do equity. David mentioned 30% minimum. So we can find that in this category here. Mm-hmm. Estimated equity, we'll do 30%. Now, 3 rules are down. Lists, off-market equity. Now it's our property and owner preferences. And David just gave you guys a big one. He said non-owner occupied. That's the absentee owners, essentially.
So the county calls them. One thing real quick, Burton. So an absentee owned property can be vacant as well, right? A vacant property is always absentee owned. So it doesn't have to be like, you can have an absentee owned property that's not vacant. It could be rented, right?
Correct.
But a vacant property is typically also absentee owned. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be in terms of the definition, because absentee owned really means that the tax bill goes somewhere else. right? So I guess in theory, you could have a vacant property that's not absentee owned because they just hadn't switched it. But again, just be aware of those two things.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because in rare situations that could happen
It could
where,
happen, right?
let's say I own a property and we go on vacation and forget to tell the neighbors to answer the mail. If we're on vacation for a month, our property will probably be flagged as vacant by the postal service, and we'll wind up on a list.
That's
And
true.
when we're coming back from our vacation, we're getting a bunch of color cards that say, "I want to buy your property."
That's right.
So that again is a very rare situation, could happen, but
It can
as
happen for
David
sure.
mentioned, aim for the absentee owned, non-owner occupied properties. And then again, vacant, just another level saying not answering their mail. No one's there, as David mentioned. So this is our owner preferences, one of them. Property preference can be found in property characteristics. So here you can say residential, commercial. For today, we'll do residential, and you can choose your property type. So if you want a mobile home or duplex, all of that can be found
Yeah, look at
here.
all those options down there. So I typically choose the top 4 because that's going to
Perfect.
be your standard. But guys, if you're looking for 100+ unit apartments, you can find those in here. If you're looking for condos, you can find those in there. If you're looking for just duplexes, you can find those in here. If you're looking for mobile
Mobile
homes
home.
or mobile home parks, you can find those. I mean, this is awesome.
And again, this is my property characteristics: bedrooms, bathrooms, lot size.
One of the things I
Another,
really like about this right here is if my list is too big. So like right now, this isn't too big for me, but for a lot of new people, it might be, right? So one of the things that I can do, is I can draw on the map to
yes.
kind of bring that down. You don't even need to mess with that if you don't want to, but there's a draw on the map feature right here, which I want the top third of the St. Louis city or county area. Another thing I can do is I can go into the filters. And once I'm in the filters, I'm going to click on the property characteristics where Burton was just at. And I will usually put the bedroom at 2 on the minimum. I don't really want to buy 1 bedrooms. And I'll also put the square footage at a minimum, usually at about 750. Reason being is I don't want to buy a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom house that's 600 square foot because those bedrooms are closets. I don't want to buy shacks. I basically want a minimum of 2 bedrooms and I want a minimum of 750 square foot. And look what happened on the far right to the number of properties now, guys. It was at, I think, 12,000 before we touched that. Or,
Yeah. Cut it right in
10
half. Yeah.
10 or 12. And now it's at 5. It basically cut it in half. So this right here would be a perfect list for somebody that is looking to find singles and small multis in the St. Louis area that are vacant. Also, owner occupied, you have that set to no. So this isn't even vacant. Oh, no, you have the vacant quick list.
Yep. It's
Set.
vacant. And we want to make sure that they're at the county level. So vacant, postal service is telling us they're not answering their mail. And just
Okay.
as another layer, non-owner or owner occupied no is actually checking with the county to see if the county has also confirmed the owner's not registered there.
Got it. I got a quick question. What if
Yeah.
you undo the quick list?
Okay.
So right now there's 5,305 on the properties. Now it went to 51,000. Now what happens if you click the vacant button? Does
Here,
it go
it
back
would
to
be the same
5,305? It's the
thing.
same thing,
Yes.
right?
Same
Okay.
thing. Correct.
So this is really great though, because if you guys are watching this as well, like there's multiple ways to make sure that you can highlight those vacants.
I love that you brought that up. The reason we put that there as well, again, what I did was rather than click on this bubble, I just started with the vacant list. The reason that's there, so you
Because
can do it with
you
another
can stack
list.
it basically.
Exactly. So we could say, how about
Yeah.
a senior owner that's
There's
non-owner occupied
2,200 of them.
and
And
vacant?
vacant, which is going to take us down to
149.
150 of them.
There you go. So that's
Look
why it's there.
at
Again,
that.
that's why you didn't see any changes when we went from here to go there. But I like that you caught that, because list stacking allows you to drive that motivation. And what we just did was find a vacant and then added another category. Could have been a pre-foreclosure, could have been a bankruptcy. And we just drove it a little bit higher on the motivation scale. So I like that you caught on to that quick. So
yeah, that's awesome. So
let's go back
there's
to
other things that you can do on the filter, right? There's the pre-foreclosure and bank owned. If you click that, there's more stuff. So there's auction and pre-foreclosure dates, opening bids, all that type of stuff. The next one is the ownership info.
Correct.
And
And
the
this would be
ownership info
big.
is very, very helpful. It's also a really great way to reduce your list. So like right now we have vacants, residentials, 2 or more beds, 750 or more square feet off market with a minimum of 30% equity. Well, let's say that you're like, man, I can't afford to like get 5,000 leads and skip trace all these leads and all that. So it's like, cool. Just put the years of ownership at 15 for me.
15.
Okay, so we have 5,300 leads. That takes us down to 463. So, wouldn't you think? Now, again, this is an educated guess. Let's be honest. This is an educated guess we're making here. That's what this is. But wouldn't you, in theory, think that a property that's absentee owned, that the owners owned it for 15 years, is going to be a little bit more likely to have some motivation than somebody that just bought it 6 months ago? Right? Again, we're making educated guesses here. But the cool thing is that we can use the system to really dial in those motivational factors. And if you don't mind, go back to that screen that you were just at.
Oh, absolutely.
Where was that at? There it is, right there, guys. So this is such a great graph and diagram because, you're not going to typically come across big discounts with people that don't have motivation. So as an investor, I'm not the agent at all. I'm not an agent. I'm not a broker. My partner, Mike, is both of those things. And thank God he is, because I'm not, right? I'm the investor. And when I'm looking to buy, or do marketing and find lists to then market to, I am presuming that the list I have has some people on it that are motivated. And a good way to have a higher level of motivation is to have a list that particular list you would presume would be motivated. So, a vacant, a tired landlord, divorces you have on there. Divorce, I mean, come on, guys. If you get a divorce or somebody gets a divorce, I mean, usually 75% of the time they're selling the house. They may not want to sell the house. They may not even want to get divorced, but shit happens, right? So you want to be there to help those people. So at the end of the day, the list that we're pulling, we are presuming that there is some level of motivation. The more you go, as you can see, the needs help. You're going to have more people marketing to those. But also, if you can get in before, like let's say in the stage, this is really where I like to get in, right where Burton's drawing right there. That's really where you want to get in, because then if it gets to the pre-foreclosure or the auction of the foreclosure, we have built that relationship, we have built that rapport, and they're going to hopefully want to work with us versus that guy that's sending them a postcard that day. We maybe had 4 or 5 or 6 months worth of rapport built with them, and hopefully we followed up 20 times by then too.
Absolutely. I love that mindset, man. 100%.
Cool.
So,
Burton, we got 3 minutes. I want to respect your time today. What could you show us on the topic of motivated seller lists in 3 minutes that's going to blow my pants off?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, one of the newest categories we just launched is called pre-probate. It's the
Pre-probate.
last one, unless you're probably wondering, pre-probate. I know what probate is, but what's pre-probate?
What is the pre-probate?
Our team has successfully been able to identify if a deceased individual's name is attached to a property still. So that's what it is. Pre-probate is someone's.
So they're basically on title somewhere.
Exactly.
Or
that's
maybe
exactly
even
what
on
it is.
or it could even be the lien, right?
Well, no, they're actually on.
They're
Their
on the
name
title.
is still on title. Correct.
Okay.
So
I guess the lien wouldn't necessarily matter. It would be the title. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. We don't know if they passed away 6 months ago or 6 years ago, but what we know is that their name is still on title and that person has passed away. So let me give you a quick example of what it's going to show you. When you go to St. Louis and choose this category pre-probate.
And hold on for a second. You have 300. Well, you just clicked it. There was 379,000 properties before he clicked pre-probate because there was no filters at all. If you click clear all, like you just did, 370. Yeah. Guys, there is 380,000 properties. How on earth are you going to tell me that you're worried about the competition? Come on. There is so many deals out there for everybody. Unbelievable. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I like that you mentioned that. And so once you select pre-probate, what we're going to show you is that all of these properties here, when you click on them and go into the details, it will actually tell you the owner has passed away. That's what it
Oh,
is. Okay.
look at that.
So now that we have this, and we talked about, adding the extra layers of motivate, let's just follow the same rules really quick. Okay. So
Find the
we
absentee
have
owned ones too, maybe.
pre-probate. We're going to make sure it's off market.
Off market. Gotta
We're going to
gotta
make sure it
take
has that
those out.
equity,
30%.
right? And I know you said absentee owned, but let's think of a different scenario,
I like
something
it.
unique, right? So, does anybody plan on passing away? No,
No.
it's something that randomly happens. No one plans on it. So, why don't we look for the person who's passed away, but they've only owned the property for 5 years or less? What this is telling me is that out of 288 properties they had bought either in the last 5 years, they either bought it last year, 2 years. So they bought it within the last 5 years. Someone's passed away since then.
Man. So they weren't, I mean, if you knew you were going to die in the next 5 years, would you go buy a property? Probably not. Right.
And
So
hey, to add more to it, because we do collect mortgage data, we have a mortgage filter and you can add that extra layer. I'd like to see people that have bought a property in less than 5 years. Someone's unfortunately passed away and there's still an open mortgage on that property.
So there is definitely a high level of motivation for the heirs to do something with that so the bank doesn't come and take it before the bank gets
Correct.
to it. Holy cow.
Absolutely. And think about it too. Like in this scenario, we have two homeowners. The owner one passed away, right? So there is a mortgage. Like you said, the kids now have to take up the mortgage. The spouse may need to take up the mortgage. What if that person that passed away was the sole income of the property?
Look at the top up there where it says the mortgage balance, and then also look at the estimated value, guys. You think you could make a
Yeah.
deal out of this if they were willing to sell you this property at a discount? Yes, absolutely.
So,
And could they sell it to you at a discount? Yes, because they have the ability to, because the mortgage is not anywhere near the value of it.
so that's our new category. It's called pre-probate. Again, it's how you manipulate it. In this case, think outside of the box. I mean, no one planned for it. So pre-probates, less than 5 years of ownership, or someone that bought it recently, or like David mentioned, pre-probate instead of 5 years or fewer, or even a mortgage. How about the absentee owned ones? Right, someone's passed away, but they had a huge portfolio of 3 or 4 or 5 properties as well. Right, so these are just great ideas. Again, lists, off market equity, and then your property and owner preferences. So thank you so much, David, for having
Love
me.
it.
And
Burton,
I hope this
thank
was mind blowing.
you. No, dude, thank you for coming on. This has been awesome. I just want to reiterate, guys, Propstream is awesome. There's a mobile app. You can run comps. You can pull lists. You can dive deep into a particular property itself. You can see the owner, when they bought it, what they paid, what kind of financing. I really like the linked properties tab as well, where you can see, how many properties does David own, or maybe even go find an LLC and find all the properties that are linked to that particular LLC.
And connect that with
Those
pre-probate.
dots.
Imagine
Yes.
pre-probate. And we even have the filter in our ownership info where you can actually put a number of how many properties they have. So pre-probate, minimum of 3 properties owned. That's
Awesome.
I'm thinking looking about
you can have minimums or maxes on how many properties
exactly.
Oh man, you can filter this thing to like the nth degree. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So guys, highly recommend you check it out. There is a link in the description of this video that will offer you guys a 7-day free trial. Again, I've been using this probably going on 2 years. It's the best tool that I have because it's in my pocket all the time. I can pull these lists. I can then send them to my team to market to these lists, right? They also offer skip tracing. They also offer list stacking, and the mobile app has a driving for dollars feature as well. I mean, it's like 10 different softwares bulked into one. I absolutely love it. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend you check it out. At least check out that free trial. You have nothing to lose. Burton, thank you so much for coming on today. As always, bro, you are the man. I love connecting with you. You got great energy, and I always learn something on these demos. So very,
Thanks
very
for
cool,
having
man.
me.
Thanks for coming on, brother. We'll talk to you soon.